Good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, and it is a new week, so new money in play. Welcome to another edition of the Spin Zone. I'm your host, Spin Doc, here on behalf of the Daily Bread Network and here on behalf of Win the Day VIP. Thank you all so much for being here. We had no show yesterday. And it was a beautiful day. Hope everybody had a beautiful weekend. Was my son's graduation party, huge party, fun event. Got to go to a few other ones from his classmates. It's grad party season. The weather was nice. It was just a beautiful, beautiful weekend. But we are ready now to get on with the business of the day and actually get to a whole bunch more money. So the reason why you're all here, right? To get started, before we go over what we learned over the weekend, if you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe to the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. Follow me at Spin Doc Sports on X. Give the video a like, give it a share. We really appreciate it. Helps us get our message and all of our content out there. Also, any past versions of the Spin Zone, if you ever wanted to view that, or any other content that we produce, is on the YouTube page for the Daily Bread Network. All right. So it was a fun weekend. It was a fun weekend. The massive win streak VIP did come to an end, but we are still holding steady at a very healthy profit, winning at almost 60%, 106.74 for the year. If you wanted to get into the Win the Day VIP, we can get you in for a week, we can get you in for a month, we can get you even in for a couple days just to test it out. The link is in my bio on X, or you can just feel free to DM me directly. Would be happy to help you out with that. But let's get on with the content. So over the weekend, there were a few things that I did want to go over. Specifically, well, a few from Saturday and then one or two from Sunday. So from Saturday, which overall was a pretty good day for us from a VIP perspective. The first thing I wanted to start off with is, aside from the fact that the Dodgers obviously put up 18 runs, is that Will Warren talked about it a little bit on the show. I've talked about it before too, is that Will Warren struggles with lefties. Specifically, he struggles with lefties that have power and good contact, and that's exactly what the Dodgers had. The Dodgers ran six. They ran him out of the game after an inning and a third, giving up 7 earned runs. That was one of our VIP plays, was the Dodgers' first 5 team total over, which cashed in less than an inning. But just something to know going forward is that his average is up against lefties. His FIP is up against lefties. The ISO power is everything against lefties, specifically lefties with good contact and lefties that have power. So if you're ever looking for a potential fade, I always like using, if a team is running 5 and they're really good lefties, you can do it. 6-3 for sure works with Will Warren and lefties. He's always had problems with them, and that has perpetuated and continued to this year. So his strikeouts under hit as well, but it was more of, I thought that the team total or his earned runs was a better play. Now, the next one is kind of a combination one, because it happened on Saturday and actually on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, is that the most conventional wisdom for strikeouts, even if you don't follow it, even if you don't cap it or look at metrics very much, has been pick on the Rockies or pick on the Angels. And that, for the most part, has been true. But the Rockies, the Mets pitchers didn't hit their over in any of the 3 games this weekend. And I'll be honest, they were both at plus money. So I actually was on 2 of them. I passed on Clay Holmes, but and it's not necessarily that the Rockies are so much better at striking out, because they still have guys in their lineup. And by the way, the Rockies' opponent tonight, we are going to be talking about him in just a moment. So that's why I wanted to talk about it here. But the Rockies they actually have gotten a few higher contact guys that they can put in their lineup, and more specifically, guys that make contact in the zone. So Amador, even though he's hasn't been in for a little while, but Freeman. I mean, Farmer can be put in there, and a few. There are a few other ones. Now, there are lineups that they can put out there that are absolute poverty when it comes to strikeouts. And so I say this because it's kind of been like a snap thing for some people, is just wake up and bet the over against whatever pitcher the Rockies are facing, right? And in the past, that's worked, but now we're at the point in the season where the books have caught up. And not only have they caught up, they've also caught up in far as like what projected lineup the team can use and where you can get it, just outside of what is a reasonable number. So do we have that tonight? I'll explain what I mean in just a moment. But the Rockies, to me, are still over or nothing. You can't take an under against the Rockies. I know it didn't hit with Senga, or is it Senga or Peterson? But I saw a bunch of people all over X and be like, we're taking them under and paying like minus 165 juice. And this is where this is the lesson for me, is that playing results poker gets you win the battle, but you lose the war. What do I mean by results poker? What I mean is that if you are playing, let's say, Texas Hold'em, and you just jack around and put way too much money in on some garbage hand, like a 6 deuce offsuit, and you go all the way to the river and you make a straight and you win, then you're sitting there thinking like, yep, that was my skill. That was my skill that did that. And, I just outplayed people. No, you didn't. You got lucky as fuck. That's what happened. That's playing results poker. And I see it happen a lot when it comes to props. And so if you're one of those people, if you played a heavily juiced under on a pitcher against the Rockies on the road, when they're on the road, and you won, congratulations. I would take that money out of your account right now and I would put it in the bank, and I wouldn't say a word about it, because you're not smarter than the books. Okay. You're not smarter than the books. You got lucky, and congratulations for winning. I'm always happy when somebody wins and the books don't. I don't have any jealousy, even though my play lost. But what I'm saying is that the overall value of doing that, of taking a team like the Rockies, like the Angels, like the Red Sox, teams that just have horrendous strikeout and swing metrics, and just continually playing those high juice ones against them that are not of any intrinsic value, it catches up with you in the end. Because remember, minus 150, minus 160, you have to win at 60 to 65% of the time. Can you honestly tell me that that's going to happen with the Rockies in that same situation, or the Angels or whoever? No, you can't. So that's kind of like my overall lesson learned from that, is that while I'm happy that for people that played it, that won, is that just, you got to be so careful with those. You got to be so careful with minus 155, minus 160s. You just can't have. I think in VIP, the last time I checked, my average line is like minus 1 or minus 114 or 16 or something like that. But you just can't have those high juice plays, because they don't hit at any rate needed to be profitable. All right. Next one that I wanted to talk about is we talked about, actually, Sharpie talked about it. I got to give all the credit to Sharpie for this one. He talked about Jesus Luzardo on Saturday. He said, if there was ever a game where he gets murked, and there was ever a game where he gets torched because this team does not chase, it would be it. What happened? Well, his earned runs went over 11 and a half. That should tell you everything you need to know. Strikeouts didn't hit because he wasn't in the game long enough, but Jose Luzardo got absolutely torched. And this is something to take forward for the future. This is a lesson for me, because I personally did not play Luzardo. I thought he might get knocked around, but I also thought that maybe there was a world where he hits his strikeouts, because sometimes strikeouts and overall performance are not universally linked. A guy can go out and can get 6 or 7 strikeouts and give up 5 earned runs very easily. So I wasn't expecting that, though. It was bad from the start. He got torched in the first. He had an okay second, got torched in the third, and then they finally yanked him. after, 12 earned runs. Now, some of those came in after he had left. So they pulled him before he actually allowed 12, and then those inherited runners did score. But either way, doesn't really make a difference. Jesus Luzardo, the big thing with Jesus Luzardo, and Sharpie called it perfectly, is you got to look for chase. If a team's not going to chase, especially if it's 6-3 with guys that chase at or below league average, is that those are always spots that you can look at him for and under, unless the line says something vastly, vastly different. Now, you get 5-4, depends on who it is. And obviously, if you get 4-5 going the other way, now you're looking at an over. But 6-3 is the delineation point. So shout out to Sharpie again. He called this one absolutely perfect. Said that Luzardo was going to get beat up. That's exactly what happened. And it's something that I'm going to take away as a lesson for the future, is that if Luzardo is facing a 6-3 or better, for guys that do not chase, and so that's chasing at league average or less, then I'm going to look for an under spot for Mr. Jesus Luzardo. So, all righty. I want to give a couple shout outs to the chat here before we get a rolling on the guys of the day. Today actually has an interesting mix of guys. I'm like, oh, it's a Monday. It's a travel in day. I didn't think that there would be a lot of spots to look at. I found more than what I thought. So we'll see what happens. But Mike Will, welcome in. Thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations. Yep. Thank you. Congrats to my son. But yeah, great party, great fun. And yeah, he's off to college very shortly. So thank you very much, Mike, and good morning. Roger, good morning to you as well. Always with us. Crochet cashed me out all the way up to 9. Yep, that one was, oh, man, he absolutely torched him. I actually had another VIP person message me and say that they took 10 or 11 and got like plus 680 or something like that. So good for you, man. But obviously the standard over was super, super easy. So Mario, happy Monday to you as well. Always with us. And thank you for being here. And, let's see, we got Cover King saying 1 unit. Welcome in, by the way, and thank you for being here. 1 unit on Stephen Kolek, over 16.5 outs, minus 130. And then saying, looks like this is a parlay. Brady Singer, I'll leave that up for a second here so everybody can get it. Brady Singer over 4.5 hits allowed. Jack Flaherty over 17.5 outs. Max Meyer over 4.5 Ks, 3X. All right. And like I said, I'm assuming that that's a parlay. So everybody wants to try to build whatever price you can for that one. And Life as we know it. Thank you for joining, and thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Much, much, much appreciated. So we're very, very proud of them. All right. Let's move on to the business of the day, and we will start 3 pitchers to talk about today. You can probably already guess one of them if you watch this show more than a few times, but we'll talk about him second. First up is Max Meyer, the righty here, 24.2% strikeout percentage, 7.3% walk percentage gets the Rockies at home. And this game goes at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. And we have a 6.5 at plus 102 and an under 6.5 at a minus 128. So first thing that I see is that they're making the over very bettable. The Rockies have become a very sexy team to bet on an over. It's obvious why. I don't blame anybody at all for wanting to do it. So it's a very bettable 6.5. Now, is it one that is triggering my radar? Like, oh man, like what's going? No, not really. I think this is where the line should be. And the reason why I say that is this is where Meyer has been from an overall average perspective. So this is pretty much the standard. This is pretty much the standard Rockies tax. It's not Rockies tax plus 1. So I haven't really found a discernible difference for pitchers that had Rockies tax plus 1 versus just straight Rockies tax. So what I mean by the Rockies tax is they usually just take your rolling average over the last X number of games and just add 1 to it, and that's the line. And that's what we have here because Max Meyer is averaging just under 6 strikeouts a game. And so they're giving you an even money 7. That's right where you would expect the line to be. Outs are at 17.5, which is where he's been. Hits are down from his last few games from 5.5 to 4.5, juice to the over. With a Rockies team on a back-to-back East Coast road trip, that's not that surprising. And earned runs as a result are down as well. All right, let's look at Max Meyer. So a couple things with Max Meyer. He is in the zone a lot. So you do have to look at zone. We're going to talk about chase separately here in just a moment, but you do have to use zone. So Max Meyer is in the zone 52.4% of the time. And he does generate, but his overall contact rate in the zone is 84%, which is above pitcher average. Where he really makes his hay, even though he's in the zone at 52.4%, it's on the chase. So let's go down and let's look at zone first and see what we can come up with, just because of how often he spends in there. So the other thing with Meyer, before I get going on that, is his four-seam fastball is not an out pitch. It is it's got okay velo, but it is more of the Jack Flaherty mold, where it's kind of in the low to mid 90s. It's only got a 13.5% whiff rate. The pitch that he really gets people with is his slider. He's got one of the best sliders for a young pitcher in the game. And as a final side note, I always cheer for Max Meyer, and I always want to talk about Max Meyer is because he is from Woodbury, Minnesota, went to Woodbury High School, which is down the street from where I'm broadcasting to you right now. It's where I actually went for a few years for high school as well. And always cheering for the Woodbury kid. So family still lives here too. But anyways, we'll go on with Max Meyer. So we look at the Rockies lineup, which as of right now is projected to be 2 lefties and 7 righties. Now, I talked about how the Rockies have been adding a few guys, like they added Arcia. They had Amador coming in there for a while. So I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be their actual lineup. I did get 2 different lineups at the 2 places that I use, being Swish Analytics and RotoWire. So I kind of went with a blend of the 2 and the most common lineup that they faced against right-handed pitchers. So what I come up with is, from a zone contact perspective, I do see 6 of the 9 are under league average in zone contact. The only 2 that are above, because my projected has Freeman and Farmer in the 6 and 7 hole. Freeman and Farmer, not only do they both have great zone contact, but they also have very, very low whiff percentages to a slider. Overall, 26.3% and 21.6% respectively. Both of them also make great chase contact and don't chase either. Those 2 are going to be tough to get if they are, in fact, in the lineup. If they're in, the Rockies usually bat them right in that 6-7 hole, somewhere towards the bottom. Now, the rest of the lineup, even the only other one that is over league average in zone contact is Tovar, who's projected for the 2 hole, and he has struck out 2 out of 3 times against Meyer, and also has a 31.1% whiff rate to a slider. So you can probably mark him down for 1. The other one that, now the rest of them, all the non-zone contact people, is that Beck, Goodman, Doyle, Moniak, and Stallings. The one I'm going with has Stallings. Not saying there's one that has Stallings and one that doesn't. You want Stallings in, even though he hasn't struck out against Meyer in 2 plate appearances. He's got a 72.4% zone contact there, and he whiffs 50% of the time to a slider, double bleh. So, and then Moniak and McMahon both have over 40% whiff rates to a slider. So you got to put them down for 1 each. So the guys that you're going to want in this lineup, if you're going to run with Meyer tonight, is you want McMahon, you want Moniak, you want Stallings, because all 3 of them chase, and all 3 of them whiff to the slider. And if you're going to whiff to a slider and you're going to chase, Max Meyer is going to strike you out, because that is where he makes that's where he has the lowest contact rate, and that's also where his best pitch goes. So if I have McMahon, if I have Doyle, because Doyle's almost at 40%, if I have Moniak and Stallings, those 4 are who I want. I don't care really where they bat. Obviously, the higher the better, but it's not as important to me where they bat, just the fact that they're in. Because even if Moniak are in the 8 and 9 hole as projected, that's still 2 times. You can probably still ring them up for 1 each. You can ring McMahon and Doyle up for 1 each, and you can also probably ring Tovar up for 1. Now you're at 5. And now you're at 5. And even if you take Freeman and Farmer and say, yeah, they're probably not going to strike out very much, you'd have to get one of the other guys twice, or you'd have to get Beck, or you'd have to get Goodman. Yeah, because that adds up to 5. Yeah, so 5, you'd have to get Beck, Goodman, or in one of the guys twice. Now let's look at Beck and Goodman. Beck striking out almost 30% against right-handed pitchers, striking out to the main out pitch that Meyer uses, or the secondary out pitch Meyer uses against right-handed batters, which is a sweeper, whiffing at 52.2% of the time and zone contact at a 75.5. He can easily be one. Then you go down and you look at Goodman, and he swings a ton in the zone and doesn't make contact. And his chase contact, when he chases a ton, and his chase contact is only 43.9%, he can get one. So there's tons of pathways here for Meyer to get to 7 strikeouts. There are a massive amount of pathways for him to get to 7 strikeouts. If you go back and you look at some of the teams where he's failed to get the 7 strikeouts, or even really to come close to getting 7 strikeouts, when you go and you could look and you compare it to the chase contact that team makes, is that you see the Padres, who over the last 2 weeks are the second best team in baseball in best chase contact. The Cubs are top half. The Rays, who he actually got 7 against, are bottom of the pack, or lower bottom 5th. You see where I'm going here, is that if you're gonna have just enough guys that don't make zone contact, and then you are going to have guys who chase and don't make contact as well, then that is a recipe for Max Meyer to have success. So let's see. Let's real quick. Kid Keon, morning spin. Would you play Max pitching outs? I don't like the juice on it. I don't like paying minus 157 for juice. The other thing that I also don't know if I like is that if he is going to get this many strikeouts, when he struck out 7 guys on the Rays, he only recorded 15 outs. When he struck out 14 against the Reds and just barely got to 18. They let him go because he was just absolutely rocking and rolling. So the history is that he either barely gets 18 or misses this if he's going to get this many strikeouts. And that to me strikes like a 50-50 shot. And I'm not paying minus 157 for a 50-50 shot. And I just wanted real quick, trying to rob FanDuel. Good morning to you as well. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, Cover King saying it's DFS. Sorry, DFS. My bad. So DFS for what Cover Kings posted. I'll put that back up before we go off, just so people can see it again. Mom Who Bets, welcome in. Good morning. New week, new money. Let's get it indeed. And also good morning to you, Slim. Good morning, and thank you for joining as well. All right, real quick, back to Meyer. So the guys that you want, if you're going to roll with Meyer, in my view, on the straight up line, is I want McMahon, I want Doyle, I want Moniak, and I want Stallings. You give me those 4, and even if Freeman and Farmer are in, if this lineup is what is projected, I come up with 7 at a minimum. And if you take Freeman or Farmer out and you put one of the other lower contact guys, I'm not even going to go through them because it's like damn near everybody else except Amador. Maybe not Estrada, but even if you put Arcia in there for one of those 2, I'd be cool with that. Now you're talking a much, much easier path to that 7. But McMahon, Doyle, Moniak, Stallings, those are the ones you want. All right. Second up. I mean, Duh, my guy, big Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty striking guys out at a 29.9% clip, walking guys at a 7.9% clip. He goes to Chicago tonight, 7:40 p.m. Eastern. And we do have one of those lines. I'm not saying it's a trap line. I'm not saying that it's I'm not saying that it's a suck the public in line, but it is curious because his line is up at a 6.5 when he's usually been at a 5.5 on the road. And we get juicy plus money on an over, and under 6.5 is heavily juiced. Okay, so couple things about big Jack Flaherty. Now, as you all know, I'm a huge Jack Flaherty fan. I love his pitching stuff. I love who he is as a person with all this social consciousness. I love this guy, and I love trying to cash with this guy. This one I don't know about. This one I'm not so sure about, and here's why. We've talked a ton on this show, and I've talked on others about how Jack Flaherty does not have an overpowering four-seam fastball. He only goes like 93 to 94. Sometimes he can get up 95, but it is not an out pitch, as evidenced by the fact it's only got a 14% whiff rate. That's well below even like regular starter average, which is around 23, 24%. So the big thing that Jack likes to do is have great placement on his four-seamer to induce either weak contact or fouls to get you in those pitchers' two-strike counts, which then set you up for his main pitch, which is the knuckle curve and the slider. He throws them both to righties and lefties. The knuckle curve is the primary out pitch and generates a gaudy 47.2% whiff rate. Now, the other thing that you have to look at too is when I'm comparing whiff rates for this one is that if you go and just look at like Savant, and this is for those of you that I know like to dig into the metrics, if you go into Savant and you just do a sort by whiff rate, or because whatever the chart is, whiff rate to curveball, you gotta be a little bit smarter than the numbers in those cases, because that's to all curveballs. And what it doesn't calculate is whiff rate to a knuckle curve. Now, Savant and other places that measure whiff rate do not differentiate between curve and knuckle curve. The knuckle curve does tend to have a higher whiff rate for the pitchers that throw it. If you think about Zach Wheeler throws it, Hunter Brown throws it. There's a few other ones. So what I usually will do is I take the number that it lists for all curveballs and I just add a little bit on top of it to get my final number, because they are not the same pitch. Pitchers that can throw a successful knuckle curve have some of the it's not just a snap curve into a certain spot. It's got a little bit of like that wiggle movement that you do see with a knuckle ball, but does snap like a curve. I'll leave it at that for now. So when you see some of the whiff percentages to the curve ball, just know it's not the exact same thing as a knuckle curve, which is what Flaherty throws. But all that aside, what we're looking for with a lineup that Flaherty is going against is we are looking for chase. If you're gonna chase, if we get 5-4 that chase or better, chances are pretty good that Flaherty can get some Ks. Now, we look at the White Sox projected lineup, which is 5 lefties and 4 righties. Not a whole lot of difference between how Flaherty Ks them. And I don't like what I see. The reason why I say that is I see 3 guys who chase: Benintendi, Sosa, and Robert. The other problem I have with this is one of the guys that chases, Benintendi, has faced Flaherty 8 times, has only struck out once, and makes chase contact at 62.7% of the time, which is a good amount above league average. The other thing that I don't see is I don't see a lot of whiff rate to the curveball. Even adding on that little tax that I talked about with the knuckle curve, is Benintendi whiffs to a curve under 20%, and that's probably why Jack hasn't gotten them. So great chase contact, great. So I can't mark him for anything but a 0.25. I can't really get there with him. Lennon Sosa does chase a ton, makes decent chase contact, but does have at least reasonable whiff rates to Flaherty's out pitches. So he's probably going to be one. And then the other one who will K for sure if he's in is Robert. 35.5% K percentage to right-handed batters. right-handed pitchers, I'm sorry, 50% whiff rate to the curveball, and that's being kind. And then has K'd 5 of 9 times against Flaherty. That's one. That's probably that's actually a 1+ for me. So he could easily be 2. Now I go to the rest of the lineup, and I do think that there's K potential for Vargas. He's already K'd 4 times in 8 plate appearances against Flaherty, even though his overall metrics would not suggest it. Palacios does have an average chase, but also does not make contact either when he chases or in the zone. And even though he doesn't throw it as much, does have a gaudy, horrendous whiff rate to a slider, which fit with 52.4%. So he's one. And then I go down the rest of the lineup, and if this is going to be who they throw out there, Meadroth, Caro, and Tauschman specifically, if those 3 are in, that's 3 potential dead spots. They're not dead spots to striking out, but they do all of the things well that Flaherty needs you to not do well to strike out. So you got 3 guys in there, and then you add in Benintendi, who he hasn't barely gotten yet. And man, 7 becomes a stretch. I see 6. I see 5 for sure. I see 6. I'm not sure that I can get to 7. Now the question is, do you actually play an under here? And this is where I let people know that unless it's somebody that just has gaudily bad swing metrics, like the Red Sox, like the Angels, like the Rockies, and you just can't take an under no matter what, is that you have to look at what the team is from a strikeout perspective versus what they are from an overall team. Because the White Sox as a team aren't very good. But the White Sox as a team are only striking out against righties this year at 22.8% of the time. That's not terrible. And that's with some guys like Robert and like Rojas at the bottom, both of whom have 28% or worse. So you have a very top and bottom heavy lineup. Now the question becomes, how many of those top heavy guys are going to be in the lineup? The guys that you want out, if you want to consider an over with Jack tonight, to me, are Meadroth. You want out for sure. You would want Benintendi out, but he's a lefty and he's got great history, so I'm sure he'll be in. You want Caro out. Probably those, and then Tauschman. So those 4: Meadroth, Tauschman, Benintendi, and Caro. If you get one of them out, maybe the numbers change. Maybe it works out depending on how they organize their lineup. If you get 2 of them out, now we can start thinking over. But if all 4 are in, not even Robert and some of the other Palacios, who are, in my view, for sure going to strike out. Same thing with Rojas. Those 3 will for sure strike out. There's probably not going to be enough plate appearances for Jack to get there with the strikeouts. So as much as I would love to sit here and say I'm riding Big Jack tonight, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I don't know if I certainly don't like paying -158 for an under for a team like the White Sox. But if they do put in all these guys that don't chase, there might be a possibility to, I know Sharpie calls it the fuck around and find out parlay, where you throw it into like a $5 lunch money parlay at -160 with a bunch of other high juice things, and you come up with some plus money and you put a couple bucks on it. If it hits, it hits. If not, who cares? That's kind of how I'm looking at Jack tonight. But I just don't see the chase in this lineup. So if the lineup becomes different and we get more guys that chase, then that would very much interest me. A couple guys that I would want to see, guys that do chase quite a bit that I don't see in the lineup as of right now would be, Vaughn would be one, Baldwin would be another, and Taylor would be another. If you see any of those names, that might be something where you can take a look. And I see Godspeed KD saying, welcome in, by the way, my friend. And yeah, that's why I haven't pulled the lineup on Flaherty yet. The lineup looks tricky. It does. I just can't. I've just made it a point this year, just because I know this guy so well and I study every start that he has, is that when the chase isn't there, he can have a good start, which I'll go to Cover Kings again. Cover Kings saying one reason why I took Flaherty out. So, yep, makes total sense. Makes total sense, Cover Kings. And why he says, I just, it's why I can't get there with the strikeouts. There's just not enough chase in this lineup. Timothy Jackson, welcome in. Thank you for joining. Saying, who do you think could make the most contact and reach a base? I'm assuming that you're talking about against Flaherty, or I'll tell you against Flaherty, and then just if there's anybody else that you want to clarify to say like no anybody across Major League Baseball today. Benintendi would be a good bet. If you're thinking about guys against Flaherty, Benintendi's got at least somewhat decent history against him. But I mean, Tauschman would be another one probably if you're looking at guys against Flaherty. I would take one of those two if you're looking at Jack Flaherty. If you're looking across Major League Baseball, that's a different, bigger conversation. All right. Last but not least, so my hometown squad, the Minnesota Twins, we got Joe Ryan, and we got the Twins out in not Oakland, out in Sacramento. And Joe Ryan striking guys out at 29.8%, walking guys at 3.7%. And he gets the Athletics tonight in one of the nightcaps at 10:05 p.m. And this line is exactly where I thought it would be, at a juiced 6.5 on both sides. Now, when you look at the overall Athletics lineup, or when you look at the Athletics K metrics and strikeout metrics for the year, you think, why is this at a 6.5 for a team at home? Because the Athletics only have a 20.4% K percentage. Well, the big reason why is injuries. The Athletics have not only had a number of the injury bug bite them recently, but they've also had some injuries to some of their high contact guys, more specifically Miguel Andujar. Now, Blade has also missed games for injuries as well. Now, Nick Kurtz is on a 10-day IL with a hamstring injury and won't be back till next week. Nick Kurtz is a walking strikeout, but all that said is that some of the guys that they have replaced them with, either guys that they've called up or guys that were second in line, is they are guys that are very, very prone to striking out to everything Joe Ryan throws. Everything. So Joe Ryan runs with a four-seamer, a sweeper, and a splitter. He's in the zone 55.1% of the time. He does have a pretty big disparity in lefty versus righty this year, not in past years, but this year. But part of that is because if you go and you look at some of his opponents this year, and you look at some of the lefties that he's faced, he's faced Cleveland, who has Quan and a whole bunch of high contact lefties. He's faced Vinny Pasquantino and a number of high contact lefties. He's faced a couple of the Mets with Soto and a couple of those guys. So he has faced a number of higher contact lefties so far this year. So I'm not going to ding him that much for the disparity between lefty and righty K percentage, because lefty is 20.5, righty's 38.4. The lefty K percentage for his career is a little bit closer than that. So I kind of hedge on that one. Now, Joe Ryan does live in the zone. And so when you're looking at Joe Ryan, you have to look at zone swing and you have to look at zone contact. When he does get in pitchers counts, and this is for guys that'll take, is that he does have a K percentage of almost 40%. Actually, I think it's a little bit higher now. So Joe Ryan gets the Athletics, but he's probably not going to get the Athletics lineup that I said that's only striking out 20.4% on the season. So with some of those guys that they have out, is that the 7, 8, 9 hitters, which is what they ran with yesterday when Gausman got him for the 7, is Alexander, Avans, and Clark. And not a ton of history for all three of these guys, but there's enough where all three of them have a 35% K percentage against righties or worse. Even some of those guys that were in the minors don't have the greatest K percentage, and two of them, being Alexander and Clark at the bottom, have zone contact rates in the 60s. Now, for a guy like Joe Ryan, who lives in the zone at 55.1, which is one of the highest numbers among pitchers today, and who also only allows 75.3% zone contact, which is one of the best marks of pitchers today as well, is that this is a very, very good mix for Joe Ryan, because those bottom three, he can get all three of them. And he maybe can get one of them more than once. So I think between those three, if this is the lineup they run, I got 3.5 right there. Now, go to the top of the lineup, and you have Butler, who swings in the zone more than league average. Zone contact at 75.5%, which is well under hitter average. Has never faced Ryan and whiffs to a splitter almost 50% of the time. Yes, yes, yes. Check, check, check. One for him pretty easily. Wilson's going to be tough. Going down the list, he has elite zone contact. If I were Joe Ryan, I'd make him put the ball in play. Brent Rooker has struck out 2 out of 3 times against Joe Ryan, swings a ton in the zone, makes contact under league average, and whiffs to a splitter 50% of the time. Check, check, check. That's one. Soderstrom. Now, Soderstrom's an interesting case because he does swing more than league average in the zone, whiffs to a sweeper 50% of the time, which is Ryan's second out pitch, and makes the contact below league average in the zone. So you'd think I'd say check, 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 and mark him up for another one. I can only put him for a half, and the reason why is he's faced Ryan 6 times and hasn't struck out yet. So half to 0.75. But even still, right now, we are at 6 already, and we haven't even covered the last 2 hitters in the lineup, that being Shea Langoliers and Urias. So Shea Langoliers makes good zone contact, swings about average in the zone, but does whiff to a splitter almost 45% of the time, and Ryan's got him 2 out of 5 times. Not a huge sample size, but there are multiple strikeouts there. You got to put him at least for a half or a little bit more. And Urias, Ryan has got him once, but it's only in 2 plate appearances, makes elite zone contact. So Wilson and Urias are probably going to be the 2 that are going to be a little bit tougher to get. He can get every single other hitter in this lineup, even though Soderstrom is 0 for 6. He can get every other hitter in this lineup, and that bottom 3 can account for 4 strikeouts very, very easily, or maybe even more. So if this is the lineup that the Athletics are going to run, the guys you want in, I don't care if they're 7, 8, 9, which they should be, Alexander, Evans, and Clark. Those 3 at the bottom, those are the ones you want. The guys that would be lovely to see if we're looking at an over here for Joe Ryan to not have in the lineup would be Wilson and Urias. Anybody else, especially since I don't think Andy R is going to be back, anybody else they can put in, just fine by me. So this is a clear look at the over here. This is a very, very clear look at the over here. I get why it's juiced for even for a road pitcher, is because this is not the Athletics lineup that, again, has whatever it is, like 20% K percentage to right-handed batters. They have lots of injuries. They have lots of guys that could be out. So if that's the bottom 3 that they're going to run, I am highly, highly interested in a Joe Ryan over. And Timothy Jackson said, you're correct, Flaherty. Yeah, then I would go Benintendi or I would go Tauschman, assuming that they're in. If you have to pick one, I'd probably go Tauschman. And Godspeed KD saying the A's struggle so bad against the splitter. My Lord, do they ever. Of the 9 in the projected lineup, league average is about 35%, and only 3, Soderstrom, Urias, and Wilson, whiff below that percentage. Now, Soderstrom, he whiffs below league average to the splitter, but he does whiff at 50% to the sweeper, which is another pitch that Ryan throws to get guys out. So there are multiple paths to 7 here. So this, for me, especially if you have to bet it now, you're banking on these being the last 3 guys in the lineup. Clear look at the over for Joe Ryan. Let's see. Roger asking thoughts on Tyler Anderson and is a ladder play possible? I would never ladder Tyler Anderson just because he's not a strikeout pitcher. I get why I get why the look is there. I get why you'd want to do it just because he does throw in the zone and because of the team that he's facing. But on the road, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a little shot on the over 4.5. I mean, the juice is fine with it. It's minus 122 on FanDuel. So I'm probably not going to see enough to do anything with it. But if you want to, if you want to take a shot there, over is obviously the way to go given the opponent. All right, so we'll go to other looks, sides, totals, etc. for the day. Not a ton of Major League Baseball games. But if you're looking for a plus money line, the Brewers make a whole lot of sense to me. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Brady Singer struggles tonight. And plus money for at plus 102. This one's already coming down a little bit. So if you want to get it at plus money, you're going to have to go and get it pretty quickly. And then the other one is the Padres. I actually do like the Padres tonight. It kind of matches up with what I think Cover King was saying before about Kolek, but they just have had so much success against Logan Webb in the past. And their contact metrics over the last week and a half or so have just been fantastic. So Padres plus 150 on the road also makes a lot of sense, and I think I would probably stop there. From a totals perspective, I would and I like this one probably maybe for sure better than Flaherty's strikeouts is the White Sox team total under for this one. I think that probably correlates with the outs one. I know Cover King said. I think that the under White Sox team total makes a lot more sense than the strikeouts do for this one. And then the only other total one that I think caught my eye a little bit would be the Marlins and the Rockies under 8. Obviously, Max Meyer against the Rockies would be one reason, but there's a few kids that the Marlins have been inserting into lineups too. So even against a pitcher like German Marquez, it's still under 8 for the first game of a series to me makes sense. And then since the NBA finals don't start till Thursday, I'll hold off until either Wednesday or Thursday to talk about any thoughts that I have on the NBA finals. And I think that that will do it for the day. We have Kid Keon asking thoughts on Webb and Dustin May. With Logan Webb, he has very shaky history and very poor K history against the Padres. I need to see their final lineup before I make any kind of decision. I know Cover King saying Logan Webb under Ks has potential. Yep, I wouldn't disagree with that. And then the Padres under is a good look too. So I can see Logan Webb going out and having a really good start, but not striking guys out. The reason why I say that too is his outs are up and strikeouts are down. So to me, that might indicate that he's going to pitch like 7 innings and 4 strikeouts is a world that Logan Webb can live in often, especially against a team that is such high contact against his stuff, which all of them are virtually all of them are. So don't disagree with that at all. All right. I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I wanted to run one more time through the chat and give a shout out to everybody. Thank you to Mike for joining. Thank you to Roger. Thank you to Mario. Thank you, Cover Kings. Thank you to Life as We Know It. Trying to rob FanDuel, Kid Keon, Mom Who Bets, Slim, Godspeed, KD, Timothy Jackson. I think I got them all. All right. Thank you all so much for joining. If you haven't yet, please make sure to give this a like. Please give it a share on X. We do appreciate that love. And also, please subscribe to the Daily Bread Network for all of our content. Best of luck with whatever you're tailing on this fine Monday evening and day and evening. And we'll back with you tomorrow with more plays.